Good evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today we're on Greg Howe. How are you?
Doing well.
Well,
How
Greg
you
is a
doing?
fantastic guitar player who I've loved through the years. And as I was saying earlier, Greg the Fourth Wall, I was enjoying him on Dweezil's podcast, Running with the Dweezil,
Hmm.
talking about geeking out over Van Halen, the common love that a lot of guitar players have. Um, would you say he was your first big guitar player, though, for you, that really influenced you?
He was the first guy that made me say, I think I want to do this for a living because before him, um, I was listening to, I had figured out a lot of Zeppelin stuff and a lot of Jimmy Page stuff. And the guitar was kind of a hobby thing that I would do after school. Nobody really knew that I played. But when Van Halen came out, it was such a big jump ahead. And it was so sort of mystical and mysterious that I was like, I got to crack this code. I got to figure this out. So I kind of became obsessed and then really got into his playing as a result of just at first being up for the challenge of trying to figure out what it was he was doing.
It's amazing how he changed and influenced so many guitar players' lives. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
really did. It's like his guitar was like a spaceship. It was so foreign what he would do. I mean, you could dig riffs from bands, but like the sounds he made, you're like, was that a guitar? Was that like? So it's really good. How it really makes you think. And I think even if you don't sound like Eddie or anybody, it was influential and it made you think outside the box. Like you're like, what, an instrument can do that? Like I don't have to follow these scales. Like some of the notes and intervals that Eddie did don't make sense on paper. You're like, that should be wrong, you know.
Yeah.
But when you hear it,
Yeah.
you're like, it's beautiful. Those notes don't make sense, but when you play it, it's beautiful. Then how do you get that? How do you get your hand to do that? I mean, that's you know,
Right. Yeah. He had his own thing. He basically, people can say whatever they want about him, but you can't get that flavor from any place other than the Eddie Van Halen store. There's nobody sounds like that. Nobody plays like that. He had his own thing, and that's honestly that's what I love. All the musicians that I love are musicians that have big, easily recognizable personalities in their playing.
when your first bands you had, and actually, were you in a band with your brother first, or did you sign to Shrapnel with your solo?
Well, we had a band for years right out of high school. Yeah, we
Right,
had a band,
right.
and we'd always have we'd have a few different bass players and drummers that would come in and out, but. Um, we had decided that we wanted to move to Florida because we had actually showcased for just about every single label by 1987, 86. Um, we had showcased for everybody and we didn't get signed. So we just figured, well, if we're going to be a cover band, let's go to Florida and do it somewhere where it's kind of cool and fun and there's a lot of nice weather and bikinis and all that. And just for the heck of it, just for the heck of it, I decided to just throw a demo together on a Fostex or Tascam machine cassette, and they weren't even songs; they were just sort of backing tracks that I created, simple grooves, simple chord changes, and then just me blowing over them. And I sent them to Mike Varney's Spotlight column, thoroughly expecting to never hear back from him. But I did do something that was a little bit, I guess, on my side, which was he had a PO box that he told everyone to send their stuff to, and I did. But I also sent a overnight FedEx package to Guitar Player magazine, so I knew somebody was actually going to physically have this package in their hand and have to sign for it and probably deliver it to him. So it would end up being separated from all the hundreds of cassette tapes that are landing in his PO box. And that actually worked because I got a call from him, I think the very next day or 2 days later, either the next day or 2 days later. And so that was an interesting situation because he wanted me to sign a 4-album deal with him, and which we did initially. The original deal was 4 albums, but he wasn't that gung ho about having a vocal band. I had to really bargain for that. So we negotiated. That's why the first album is Greg Howe. The second album is an album called High Gear, which was the
Yeah.
band. The third album was also a vocal album called Now Hear This. And then the fourth album was actually Introspection. That was the end of that original contract. So, yeah, the world of instrumental music was something I was introduced to when I got signed. I had never written an instrumental song prior to Mike Varney I never even thought about it. Everything was vocal band. All the songs that we wrote were vocals. All the songs that we covered were vocal tunes. I never even it never even crossed my mind that I would be a solo instrumental artist. That was just a weird, bizarre concept. So I had to learn that almost immediately when Mike Barney said, "Yeah, I want you to do a solo album." I'm like, "How do you do that? What does that mean?" Because generally speaking, I write the song or the chord changes and sort of the riff and the groove, the music, and I'd hand it to my brother, and he would do all the lyrics and the melody lines, and that was a great easy formula. And now suddenly I had to be the lead singer on the guitar, and it was a different way of thinking. So I had to really listen to a lot of stuff. I remember listening a lot to a lot of his shrapnel guys, Tony McAlpine and Vinnie Moore, and then I went back and listened to like the Steve Morse introduction album, and just tried to get in the headspace of
Right.
instrumental artists. So that's part of what influenced that first record.
Has it changed now? Because you also had a band not too long ago. Well, I guess long ago now. The apocalypse just thrown off my time zone for things. Not too long ago, the year you did have a band, Marigold, right? Was that right? For a while too. So like you've
Yeah, yeah.
gone and done solo, and then you did the bands. Do you feel like it's easy now to jump between the two worlds, or is it like you have to kind of get used to one, and then you got like, all right, now I got to get used to not having a singer. Now I have to get used to having a singer, or it's just you know,
It's a mindset that I have to get. Yeah, I have to acclimate mentally because uh, when I'm in band mode with a singer, um, the whole creative process is sourced from a different place. I'm not thinking the same way, so I have to get in that mindset. I have to get in that frame of mind, and it's just a different mindset. It's a mindset that has much more to do with um, addressing people and playing to people who aren't necessarily musicians at all, and and so and that's fun. It's fun to hear people who aren't musicians say, "I like that song." Um, it's easy to make musicians impressed because you can just play complex things and impressive things,
right?
and they like it. But to play something that's really catchy and hooky and memorable, um, and hopefully hit both worlds. Hopefully be able to make the musicians go, "I like that," and make you know the normal listeners say the same thing. So with instrumental music, in a strange way, I feel like it's easier because there's no boundaries, there's no limits, there's no rules, there's no laws, right? I mean, we can go to halftime here. Let's go into seven. Let's just put a strange break here. Let's do some bizarre odd time thing with backwards drum. But, we can do anything. Let's just make a strange story out of this piece. Let's do a unison line. There's no boundaries. There's nothing. Nothing's confining you. It's, I think, sometimes a bigger challenge to work. That's why I'm always impressed with like songwriters, pop songwriters. When I hear a pop song come on the radio that's brand new and it's catchy, and yet it's using the same 3 or 4 chords that we've heard used
Right.
a million times, but yet somehow they've twisted it a little bit and they've done something that puts their stamp of creativity on it, and it's somehow you're going, how could this not have been written already? This is amazing. So sometimes I find that more impressive and more challenging to actually work within the confines of these boundaries. But both worlds are fun. I do, I guess, to answer your question finally, yeah, I do. I like a little bit of time to acclimate. It doesn't happen instantly.
It would feel like it'd be, I guess, and I'm just saying, I'm not a good guitar player, but it feels like it'd be easier to almost be part of a band. It'd be almost like you can kind of like you got a team, you can kind of pull off the brakes a little bit, and it's more of a relaxing, fun, jammy thing. Not that's not as serious, but it's just there's less on you because as a instrumentalist, you are the lead singer with your melody lines, and they have to work with the rest of the composition. Now you can go off and do different beats. You don't have to worry about being 4/4 and stuff, as you were saying, and you can kind of go
Right,
that almost get kind of proggy by being able to just. And I think a prog is lets you go where the song goes. That's what I think a prog
right,
is. But it lets you really go different spots. But when you have a band, you can kind of pull back on some things, because you're not
right.
that person. which makes a
Right,
difference.
exactly. And I think when you look at a band like Dream Theater, which what an amazing career they've had, and pretty surprising because their music is complicated and very sometimes hard to understand, and yet they have a
Yeah,
humongous fan base. So that's really impressive. The fact that they exist so successfully, I think, is really cool.
yeah. They're like a huge underground band because
Right,
besides that one song that everyone knows on the radio, no one
right,
knows all the other albums. And each album you have to look at like a song because they're written in a way that it's an album anyhow. It's not they're not a singles band, you know. So
right,
yeah,
exactly.
and to have a huge fan base like that is pretty amazing, which is great. It says a lot for the music world, really. But prior to this, so like,
It
who were
does.
you touring with? Like how like for touring though, what were you doing before for touring for just you? Because I know there's different ways of touring. Like you can either just do like the whole guitar, Generation Axe thing, and those things are fun for just because I know it's like when it's just a guitar thing, it's mostly a male dominated audience that just wants to see guitars. And it was like, that's always a joke. And it's like, and the girls are there, usually the girlfriends that are brought along because they have to, or somebody's birthday gift, right? Or,
Right.
but then, right, yeah. Or the other shows, do you want to be like, do you try doing shows where you're not the only guitar player? You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's a mixture. So you're the only guitar player, and it's a pop band, Yugoslavian polka band. Like, you know, what do you try for, or does it really matter
This
to you?
protocol thing for a while,
Yeah,
and that was a lot of fun. And that album got nominated for a Grammy, which was pretty flattering. And that stuff was, I guess, that was loads of fun to play. I mean, to go out and do that. It felt like, but it really kind of felt like what I do anyway. You know,
right.
so it's instrumental. It's sort of sophisticated instrumental stuff with odd rhythms and a lot of chord changes and somewhere between prog and fusion. Um, and that was fun.
Maybe
I
not so
mean,
much now, but have other bigger bands tried getting you to come in to join them? Kind of like Steve I did, like for Whitesnake for the tour and an album. Have you, because you are a guitar in that same genre, gunslinger, fantastic, well-known guitar player that would be the same stable of getting a Steve I. You know what I'm saying? Or
mhm.
have you ever been approached by other artists for that?
You mean other artists in terms of if to join them on
Yeah,
tour or to?
yeah, anything on tour. They need a guitar player, or to join the band. They lost the guitar player, but they need a name because you're a good guitar player, obviously. But you
Oh,
also
well,
have a
thank
name. So, but you know what I'm saying. So, but bringing you in would also be, they're not going to bring a nobody into some of these larger bands. You
you.
bring your
Right.
own audience. So, kind of curious, if any other larger band said, "Hey, either for an album or for a tour or whatever."
Yeah, I mean, I've had some requests for things like that. And actually, the Simon Phillips, the Protocol band was that.
Right.
That's
That's what we think of it. Yeah.
yeah, that was that. A lot of times, a lot of times it was me that there's a couple of things that I didn't want to be a part of because they just didn't quite excite me the right way. And I don't want to mention names of
No,
them, people,
it's not
but
necessary.
yeah, I'm trying to think who else. The thing is, I'm so used to being sort of like, I don't want to say in the driver's seat, but um, usually it'll be me who's trying to get Dennis Chambers and Stu Ham on my albums. It's usually me trying to put that situation together. And I guess I don't know why that is. Partially, I think it's because I I I really want to enjoy the music that I'm playing because I do know what it's like to be on stage and getting paid for stuff that's not really inspiring you, that's not lighting you up, and it's sort of like it makes you think, if I'm just here to make money, then there's other ways to do this. Why, I could have just become like a Wall Street trader or something if I'm just gonna make money.
Right.
I don't know. So it has to be fun. There has to be a certain level of inspiration there for me. Um, so yeah, I have been asked a few times, not a ton, to be honest with you, not a ton of times, but and I am open to things. So I mean, anybody who's watching, if you've got if you need a guitar player for your cool
Yeah.
thing, I'm available. I'm certainly open to it, but yeah, it hasn't happened a whole lot.
Well, just you come to mind because like it's actually Richie Cox when he came into back in the day, the Poison gig obviously didn't work out for whatever the reasons would be. Blues came in, and Blues did
Mhm.
it, and when it was done, when it got done, he loved it because he hadn't done it yet. And then when he was done, he's like, I did that now. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to be like it was a fun thing. It was like a bucket list thing almost. You know what I mean? Like it was fun. So there, Steve Vai
Right.
did Whitesnake for a while, but then he left and he's back to his own person again. Like a lot of them, either sometimes it can either be, I don't know the reasons for any of them, for fun, for a different audience, for change,
Hmm.
to the money. I mean, that was a big, great thing about Steve's deal. It was like a huge deal, the cash, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
suck playing with Whitesnake to begin with, and then you got a big hunk of change. Go build yourself a studio and do your own music. So it's win-win. Um,
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
and I think it would be interesting to see somebody if you just play with somebody, just even for an album. It'd be kind of interesting to see just something different.
It would be. It
You
would
know,
be fun, and I get inspired by doing things that are different. I really almost need that to remain to stay inspired. I
what
need to
about?
turn always a little bit.
Well, that's the other thing. So, like, how are you for songwriting and for like in practicing? Because your last album was what? Was it 2017?
Yeah.
On a daily basis, are you when you're not touring or something? Are you playing every day and practicing? Are you writing every day? Like,
I don't write every day, but I have a ton of ideas. I have a ton of sort of half put together songs that once I start to get in there, they'll shape up and become genuine compositions. Yeah, I try to have the guitar in my hands. I do a lot of online teaching, so I that keeps the guitar in my hands because left to my own devices, it's easy to find all kinds of other things to do that don't involve playing the guitar. And then the next thing I know, I'm struggling with things. So
well, actually, Dweezil actually was one of maybe was got me to come with this question. Actually, he's like, I haven't. When I was talking to him, he's like, I haven't picked the guitar in X amount of time, like months. He goes, I'll probably get calluses. I don't even have calluses anymore. And then as it goes on, there's a lot of guitar players that don't. They get home from a tour or whatever, and they put the guitar in a corner for a couple months.
yeah,
Which
yeah,
to me, I'm
that
like,
I don't.
that seems hard to me.
Yeah, the problem with me is that it falls apart much faster than it comes together. So if I don't play for a week, uh,
Yeah,
it just I really feel under par. Um, Even if other people don't notice it, I mean I big time notice it, and I don't like that feeling. So I try to, even if I'm not inspired, I'll pick the guitar for at least an hour or two, and just to be disciplined enough to not lose, to
right.
maintain.
That's how I just assumed it was, like a little here and there for guitar players. But I
Right.
hear there's the extreme. Some of them are still practice every day, real hardcore. So I thought it was really cute, more in the middle, but which
Yeah.
surprised me. It's not though. Um, so actually, so let's talking about your guitar classes and how long you been teaching now? Because the web's been doing teaching for a while, different models.
Mm.
So let's talk about your lessons and other stuff you're working on, teaching wise.
Yeah. I have I've been wanting to do this for years, and it's basically an online lessons that people can get a hold of and just see. Because um, it's there's so much subject matter. So until that's released, until that is available, yeah, they're one-on-one lessons. I just do private lessons, and I teach. When I say I do a lot, I teach Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays in the mornings, my time. So it's not a ton. I don't do a ton because I really leave everything open for um, the main part of my career, the creating and recording and all that. But yeah, that's what it's been thus far. But I'm excited about this thing. It's going to be two people on camera. It's going to be me and another guy, and because I'm such a I don't want to say I'm a perfectionist. I don't think I'm a perfectionist, but I'm the kind of person who, if I do a take on camera, I want it to be right. I want it to be clear. I don't want to stumble over my words too much. I want to make sure the execution's right. And I noticed that it takes me forever to do something if I keep that standard. But if I have somebody with me who just asks a question and says, "Hey, so what are you doing when you play over this type of chord progression?"
Right.
and then I just demonstrate it, it's a much more relaxed environment. It's a much more relaxed vibe, and there seems to be less pressure on me with regards to how professional I need to sound or how articulate I need to be. I just think it'll come across more
It's a
relaxed and
conversation. It's like a
conversation.
conversation, and you forget that you're actually got a camera on you, and you just like you're showing a
Exactly.
friend something, and while you guys are just jibber jabbering.
Exactly. And I think that would be much better for the viewer. I think it'll be much more, it'll, because it'll give them also sort of a look into my world a little bit. They'll get a dose of who I am personality wise more.
I think it's a great idea. That's kind of like I do that record show with Dweezil, and I ask him. We break out all the songs. We'll pick it out. We pick an album out, then he'll sit through it, and I'll bring up the songs, and then he hasn't looked at the album in years, and he'll remember
Yeah.
everything about every guitar. So as I bring it up, and I think of questions, I come from a fan or I get fan questions, so it's almost like other fans, and people like you know I'm conjuring up the other. I'm all the fans, setting out the questions
Right.
to him as he goes down. Probably he wouldn't think of it the same way, and it's better to have somebody conversate with you. It has a nice
Yeah,
flow, and people
it
really seem
does.
to like it.
I think people will like it a lot more. I think that I'll get a lot more done and a lot more done because it'll just keep moving. We'll just keep the camera rolling. Um, and I'd like to, it's ambitious, but I'd like to have that out before the end of the year. So it'll be a lot to do, it'll be a lot, but, but I think it'll be a big undertaking, but I think I can pull it off. If not,
That's
then
cool.
by early next year. Yeah.
Well, you could do modules and have the first half done and release that part. You know what I mean? And then keep working
Yeah.
on it so you're not in the negative. Because it's going to
That's,
develop your audience. There are a lot of other guitar classes. You got to have your own niche. I think you'll get fans. You'll get people to do it. You
oh
know,
yeah, there's done. Yeah, absolutely. There's always
but it's
room. Yeah.
hard. And truthfully, there's a lot of bad ones out there. So, you know,
I've seen a few that are kind of like, wow, I'm surprised this guy's, got his business running. But I've seen some real good
yeah.
ones too.
What are you
Yeah.
doing for endorsements now for guitars and strings and stuff?
Well,
What are you doing?
right. So I have an amp that's coming out with DV Mark. I've been with DV Mark for amplification since I think 2013 or 14, and it's been great. It's like a family over there. So we've done a bunch of amplifiers, and I know I'm a major pain in the ass for them because I'm really never totally satisfied. But they recently did what's essentially pretty much a pedal platform amp, no high gain stage in it, just sort of a JTM 45 style, clean, spanky, punchy amp, and it sounds amazing with my putting some overdrive pedals in front of it. So I think this is going to be. I think this is coming out at the NAMM show. I think I'm going to find out very soon. But yeah, look for that amp. That's going to be cool. I have not been this excited about an amp in a long time. It's very basic. It's very old school. It's very. It's got an organic whole feel to it. So it's a no frills amp. There's nothing modern about it. It's just probably some EL34s and a nice power transformer and an old schematic wiring. It's going to be nice. And I also have a brand new guitar that was officially released like 2 or 3 days ago, right? This is the
Look at that.
So this guitar is it's a Kiesel. That's the company I'm
Yeah.
with. And so I designed the body. I came to Jeff with this body design, and it didn't look like this at all. It looked much different. In fact, one of the earlier prototypes you can see here. So it's kind of
Oh yeah.
the first step. So really like the shorter horn, the sort of shorter shape here, and but really it just kept looking pretty much like a Stratocaster, the modified Stratocaster. And so I went to California, San Diego, and worked on it with Jeff. And between the two of us, I think we came up with something really nice. The first thing I decided to do was flatten, get rid of the rounded edges, because I thought that's really what keeps bringing the Strat look to it. So once we did that, it really helped. And then Kiesel does these amazing bevels. They have it with their Aries series,
Yeah.
where you can, and with this particular one, the alder wood is,
Okay.
is exposed where the bevel is, and then the top is a poplar top. It kind of looks like a, burl maple or something, but it's a poplar, beautiful poplar top. And I'm also working with a company called Vega Trem, and these guys have been around for a few years. They basically invented a replacement tremolo for a Stratocaster, enabling you to pull back on the bar. And it's pretty brilliant, pretty simple and pretty brilliant. What they did was they basically just shortened the base that the saddles sit on.
Yeah.
And so now you can pull back and
Okay.
make notes go sharp in pitch with the tremolo bar. You can do that without having that bridge, but that means you have to set your bridge with a nosedive, a little bit. You have to loosen the spring so that it sits up. But anyway, I'm using their bridge because I love the way it sounds. And so this guitar just got released, and it's called the Lyra. And yeah, I have not been this excited about a guitar, because it's the first time I've really ever designed. Everything that else I've ever worked with guitar-wise has been more or less accessorizing something that the company already had, just sort of different pickup configuration on an already existing model, or maybe slightly different location of the knobs or something, but nothing really from the ground up. This is, literally a brand new body shape. So I'm really excited about it. So this is the Lyra, and this is,
yeah.
what's that?
Yeah. No, it's cool.
Yeah, the Lyra, Lyra, and Kiesel has an amazing builder site. They have, if you go there, you can put together any guitar they have, but you can, it's really nice to just, I know a lot of companies do it, but there's just really smooth, where you can just grab, rosewood neck, let's try this color paint, let's try this hardware, let's try this pickup configuration, let's see what happens if we throw this color volume knob on there, or this pick guard. And it's really fun to just watch it show up as you're doing it. And then at least then you know exactly what you're going to get when you order it.
You just don't know what it's going to sound like with everything together. Are all of them got bolted necks, or do they have any solid ones, solid body?
I'm sorry?
Are all of them bolt-on necks, or do they do any solid body?
They do neck throughs. They do other things besides that. Yeah, I've always just been a bolt-on neck guy.
Yeah,
because I'm a tweaker. From my Van Halen days, I was such a fan of his. I was such a fanboy when I was a kid that once I found out that he was basically assembling his own guitars, that's what I did. So I would get bodies from Warmouth or JB Player, and then necks from the same companies, or and then all parts. I'd buy some DiMarzio pickups and put the whole thing together. And it was good for me to learn, and it's good to do that because you really get to learn how guitar works and how to tweak them and how to do things. The problem is I tweak all the time, so there's probably not a day that goes by that I don't have an Allen wrench in that truss rod place at some point, or right before I got signed to Shrapnel Records in 1988. So, I'm just experimenting. I don't really know what I'm doing, So I did the measurement, from the nut to where the post would go, and for the intonation has to be just right. So
right.
I thought I had done a perfect measurement, and then I drilled these posts into the wood, and then when I put the bridge on and strung it up, the intonation was out. So the bridge was basically this way, a little bit too far, probably about eighth of an inch, between an eighth of an inch and a quarter of an inch. So what I had to do, if you can think of what the Floyd Rose, Floyd Rose has that like hook thing that comes around the post that just kind of slides right up onto it. I had to drill into that. I had to basically file a bunch of the metal away so it could slide forward more. And what was funny was when it finally was correct, this thing, every time you'd go down on it, it'd make all this noise because it was no longer on the rocker part, right? Because now the whole thing's, it was just this noisy thing. And I actually recorded my first album with that guitar. And it was during the recording of that album that Mike Varney had sort of connected with Fender, and they came up to the studio actually during the recording and showed me the HM Strat and wanted to know if I wanted to play it. And so to me, it was like, wow, this is a guitar that actually works. This is a real guitar that's smooth. I was like, of course I want to play. So that's how that started. That was a great thing.
With what are you using for strings?
I generally use Diodario, the XLs, the 10 set. And then I recently switched, about 2 years ago, I switched to these, which are the NYs.
Yeah, that's what I use.
Oh, okay, cool. And then recently they sent me this other set of strings that that's a new thing.
Yeah, they sent me those,
Yeah.
and they sent me some stuff to the show, and they sent me those and some acoustic strings from them, which is
Oh,
great
did
for me
they?
because I love using their stuff anyhow. So for me, it was just a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been with Diodario since probably 89 or 90 or something. Yeah.
I've
Maybe,
tried a lot of
maybe a little.
others. I think they actually keep in tune better. Like I've gone away for days and come back, and it feels like it doesn't drift.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
I
don't know if that's
agree.
just me or just how I do keep it clean and you try to keep me up on it. But I'm like, there's sometimes I'm like, I know I'm gonna have to tune it up or whatever. I'm like, man, it's kind of still in tune, man. That's cool.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. What are we looking at now as for the future? Album, you think work on album, maybe any touring, any
Yeah. It's this the last couple of years just really just threw such a gigantic wrench into everything. I was originally supposed to tour. So originally I was supposed to release my album in 2018, 2019. Um, and then my fiance was diagnosed with cancer. So, that became a big deal because we ended up she wanted to move from Vegas, which is where we lived, to Oklahoma, which is where I am now, because I was doing so much touring back then, especially because I was doing my own tours and doing the Protocol band tours. Right. So I was away a lot, and she just felt like, well, I'd like to be around family. I'd like to have family here, So a lot of her family lives here in Oklahoma. So we ended up selling our house in 2019 and moving to Oklahoma, and a lot of it, and a lot of what was happening during the last couple of years. First of all, I had to cancel my tour because COVID came along.
COVID came out, right? Yeah.
And then I canceled it again in 2021 because it still didn't seem like things were ready to happen. But also there was a lot of sort of caretaking going on at that point because she was, I was trying to be there for her. So I was a little bit more, it was a little hands-off music. It was kind of let me put the music on the shelf until we get past this phase with her. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back on the road and getting back on track. But I really don't want to do a tour until I release an album. So this is the problem with that is that good tours, and I've been very fortunate to have really nice tours that are very good crowds and very lucrative and so forth and so on. But to have a tour like that, you usually want to set it up 8 to 12 months in advance.
Yeah.
So if I get a tour, if I have an album that comes out in, say April, I'm not sure about a summer tour, unless I promote it as me just doing a lot of my older stuff. I don't know. So we'll have to see. I have to get with my booking agent and see what he wants to do. He contacted me recently. I haven't gotten back to him yet. So Jeff, if you're watching this, I'm going to call you soon.
Call me. It's funny. One of the things I've heard though, the biggest problem right now that everyone's touring, is getting a bus or a van or something.
Yeah.
Like, there's like a shortage of them for musicians now. Like it's a thing.
Is that right? Is that right? Wow.
I don't know if it's everywhere, but I've talked to a few lately, and they said, yeah, what's holding them up, but they're getting these weird other ways of doing it because our tours that they're going to do last minute, they're like, I couldn't do this run because I couldn't get anything to go in.
Wow. Wow. That's
Yeah.
really odd. I've never heard that before.
Well, that hit the
Um,
ground, right, I think when everything opened up. So I'm hoping by now, and as things move forward, that obviously as the whole world is opening up and there's more shows, as things are flowing, more investments and stuff. But at first, it was a big battle for just, like printing vinyl. You know what I mean? Just like a year
yeah.
wait list for your album in vinyl because there's like three
Yeah.
studios that do a good job in the United States or something. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Jack White's being one of them. So there's just really not a lot of choices out there. Supply
Right.
and demand,
Yeah. That's true.
um, which
Yeah.
really kind of throws you off. But I just wanted to I have you on, and I wanted to bring it to the audience and have people check you out that aren't aware of you. I've been a big fan of you, and I'm glad we
Yeah.
could
I
talk.
appreciate
And
that very
and when your albums comes on, I'll have you come back out. We'll promote your album on here and everything else, your tour.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I'll
thank you,
keep
man.
in touch, and anytime something new is coming up, I'll let you know.
Yeah,
And um, yeah,
I
this
love
is
that.
this is cool.